Alright, so here we are on day 2 of our demo for the rattle or the shaker. Here's one of the examples that we talked about. We showed you a couple of other examples. These are a couple of that I made. And these are tools you can use to add texture to them. So you need to have texture on your piece. So I got some clay, and what I did is I just flattened it out. This is out of the recycle bin to show you how these different tools work. So this is a loop tool or a ribbon tool. And you can carve out chunks like that. Now this one goes kind of deep, so you've got to be careful. This is another end of it, would give you skinnier, a little bit skinnier pieces. And yet probably skinnier still. You can also create patterns going different ways with the ribbon tool. This is a sgraffito tool. It's the same idea as the ribbon tool. It takes out much finer sections of clay. And then when you're done, you want to smooth these rough parts out, or after your clay dries, you can take your finger and they'll just break right off. But once they're fired, these little rough parts are what we call clay boogers. They become real sharp and hard, and they can become kind of dangerous actually. So we want to make sure when we're done we smooth those out. This is the stylist, and you can use this to make dents or little holes for your texture. Same idea with an old Sharpie. You can take and you can add texture like that. Let's see what this end does. Kind of the same thing. I like the tip of it. And that will burn out. The Sharpie was not working, but it seems to be putting ink out now. Here's another tool yet that you could use to make some other kind of marks in it, like this one or this one. So you get the idea. You can use most things to make tools. If you think about a fork, if you push that down, what design that would make if you use the back of a fork. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with this texture. I like that a lot now that I'm looking at it. So I'm going to do that on this one here. So I'm going to get these out of my way. I'm going to put that there as a reminder of what I'm going for. And I'm going to take this now and I'm going to begin adding my texture to my piece. So and I really don't want my texture to be in neat rows like this, but it just kind of worked out, so that's what I'm going to go with. You notice it's denting it in a little bit, so you got to be careful that I don't ruin it as I'm working, because I would have to start over if I ripped it open. Continuing that pattern on to the next side. And I'm not going to add texture to the bottom of it. I want the bottom as smooth as possible. So this sat in the bag overnight, wrapped up, and it became leather hard. If your piece isn't leather hard, you can always put it under the blow dryer a time or two. You can set it outside in the sun for a few minutes, but you got to keep your eye on it so that it doesn't get too dry. Because once it gets past that leather hard stage, it's hard to do a lot with it. My fourth side. And I'll take it and I'll look at it. So it's a little misshapen, so I'm going to reshape it just a little bit. Being careful of my texture. There's a little crack that's formed. So I'm just going to seal that back up. It looks pretty good. I'm just going to even it up slightly. Okay, so this one is almost done. Any piece to be finished, I need to have initials and period number on it. So D, C, G, and I like the date, and I just usually put the year, so it's 2017, and then whatever period. I'm in all the periods. And then smooth this out. Those little, like I said, those little things, and they become very sharp once they're fired and glazed. So I'll usually go over it a couple times, really kind of smoothing everything out. Takes a little bit of extra time, but well worth the effort. The other thing is if you let this dry completely, then you can kind of smooth it and even sand it once it's dry. But it becomes very fragile once it's dry, so you got to be very careful with it. Okay, so the last step then is I need to poke a hole so any air that's in it can escape. So as clay dries, it shrinks, and as the clay is shrinking, the air inside of it is expanding as it's hot, and so it'll cause your piece to find a spot to blow out, and it'll blow out a section so that the air can escape. So the very last thing is a hole so the air can escape, and you can use a needle tool or you can use this tool here. I'm just going to use this one, and I'm going to put a hole very carefully right there so it goes all the way in. Smooth that out. It's small enough so the beads won't escape, and it'll allow the air to escape though. Okay, and that's finished. I'll turn it in.